Have you ever tried to build something, maybe a piece of furniture, without looking at the instructions? It's just a nightmare, right? You've got this pile of parts, you're just guessing, and what you end up with is, well, it's not what was on the box. In the world of business, that instruction manual, that essential blueprint, is what we call planning. So let's figure out how the pros build their blueprints for success. I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? How does any company, any organization, take a huge goal, like launching a brand new product or expanding across the globe, and actually make it happen? How do you get from an idea on a napkin to a real result that changes everything? Well, the answer comes down to one simple, incredibly powerful word: planning. So let's get the official definition down. At its heart, planning is really just about deciding ahead of time what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. But don't let that simple definition fool you. This is the absolute foundation of management. It's what builds the bridge from where we are right now to where we want to go. To really see how that bridge gets built, we're going to walk through the whole 7-step process. We'll start with the blueprint itself, then we'll chart the course, navigate some critical decisions, and finally turn that plan into real action. So let's get started. Okay, before we jump into the step-by-step, let's get our heads around the big idea here. Think of it like understanding the architect's grand vision before you start looking at the individual rooms. This sentence right here says it all. Every single plan, doesn't matter if it's for a tiny startup or a giant corporation, is about one thing: closing the distance between today's reality and tomorrow's dream. It's about looking forward and turning wishful thinking into a solid, structured game plan. All right, let's get into our first 2 steps. This is all about laying the groundwork. Just like any road trip, you need 2 things to start: a destination and a good map of the area. That's exactly what we mean by charting the course. And it all starts right here. Step 1. The most important step of all is setting your objectives. Because think about it, without a clear goal, what's the point of the plan? It's like a ship leaving the harbor with no destination on its charts. It's not sailing, it's just drifting. Now, objectives aren't just vague wishes. We want to increase sales is a wish. We will increase sales by 20% in the next 12 months. Now that is an objective. It's specific, it's measurable, it gives everyone a North Star to follow. And when that end goal is crystal clear, every single person in the company, from the CEO right down to the newest intern, knows exactly what they're aiming for. Okay, so we know our destination. The next thing we gotta do is check the forecast, right? And that brings us to step 2, developing premises. This is a big one. It's all about making smart, informed guesses about the future, about the world your plan is going to operate in. So what are premises? Well, they're your assumptions. What are interest rates going to do? What's our biggest competitor's next move? Is a new technology coming that could change everything? And here's the absolute kicker. Everyone involved in the plan has to be working off the same set of assumptions. If the sales team is planning for a boom, but the production team is planning for a bust, you're headed for disaster. That consistency is everything. All right, we have our destination, and we've surveyed the landscape. Now we get to the real heart of the process, what I like to call the decision crossroads. These next few steps are where all the heavy thinking happens, and where we actually choose our path from all the possibilities out there. With our objective locked in and our assumptions clear, it's on to step 3, brainstorming. The big question here is simple. Okay, how could we actually do this? This is all about coming up with as many different paths as possible, from the super obvious to the totally out of the box. So, back to our goal of a 20% sales increase. How could we get there? Well, we could launch a huge new marketing campaign. That's one option. Or we could try to acquire a smaller competitor. Or maybe we completely redesign the product. You see, this is the creative part. You want to avoid tunnel vision because sometimes the best idea isn't the first one you think of. So you've got this great list of potential ways to move forward. Now what? You can't do them all. Step 4 is all about putting on our analyst hats and evaluating each of those alternatives. It's time to put every single option under the microscope. For every option, you have to weigh the pros and cons against your main goal. That big ad campaign? Pro, tons of visibility. Con, it's going to cost a fortune with no guarantee it'll work. This is all about understanding the trade-offs. You're looking at things like potential return on investment, but also the fuzzier stuff like the impact on your brand's reputation. You need to know exactly what you're betting on with each choice. After all that careful thinking and weighing of options, we finally get to what the source material calls the real point of decision-making. This is step 5,
selecting an alternative. This is it. This is the moment you commit. You look at all the data, all the pros and cons, and you finally pick the path you're going to take. So, how do you make that final choice? Well, sure, you're looking for the most profitable, most practical plan, but it's almost never just a numbers game. This is where a great manager's experience and, frankly, their gut feeling come into play. The data can tell you a lot, but experience often tells you which way to go. And hey, sometimes the best choice isn't just one option, but a mix of a few. This final choice, this becomes the plan. Okay, let's get into the final phase. The blueprint is drawn, the big decisions have been made. Now it's time to actually break ground and start building. These last two steps are all about turning a document into reality. Step 6 is implementation. This is the moment of truth, people. This is where the plan jumps off the page and becomes a series of real-world actions. It's the big shift from thinking about it to actually doing it. Doing what is required sounds simple, but it's huge. It means getting the right people in place, making sure they have the resources they need, setting budgets, and assigning tasks. If the plan says to increase production, you don't just hope for the best. You go out and hire more people, you buy new machines. Because let's be honest, a brilliant plan that just sits in a drawer is completely useless. Implementation is the engine that makes it go. And at last, we hit the 7th and final step, follow-up action. Now, a really common mistake is to think that once the plan is in motion, the job's over. But that's not how it works. Great planning is a continuous loop, not a straight line from A to B. See, monitoring isn't something you do after you plan. It's the last, crucial piece of the plan. It means you're constantly checking in. Are we on schedule? Is this actually working? Are we getting the results we wanted? This is what lets you spot problems early and adjust your course. It's what keeps the plan alive and ensures you actually reach that objective you set way back in step 1. We have been on quite a journey, haven't we? From a big idea all the way to a fully monitored action plan. So let's do a super quick recap of the entire 7-step framework one more time just to lock it all in. Let's run through it. Step 1, setting objectives. Figure out where you're going. Step 2, developing premises. Check the forecast. 3, identifying alternatives. Map out all your possible routes. 4, evaluating alternatives. Weigh the pros and cons of each. 5, selecting an alternative. Choose your path. 6, implementing the plan. Start the engine. And finally, 7, follow-up action. Keep your hands on the wheel and adjust as you go. That right there is your blueprint for success. So this 7-step process gives you a really powerful, logical way to get things done. It's the perfect roadmap. But we all know the world is anything but predictable. So what happens when a crisis hits out of nowhere, or a new competitor pops up, or your basic assumptions just turn out to be flat out wrong? Well, that's a question for another day.